Kim.
Hello.
Welcome to the Nutra Narratives podcast. I'm so excited to
you.
have you with me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Thank you. Thank you for your willingness.
You're welcome. My pleasure, completely. I was blessed that you reached out and asked me. So thank you for letting me share a little bit. Yeah.
Beautiful. So before I'm going to ask you to share about your world of nutrition,
Yes.
I know that you were in a different world before you became a dietitian. I would love for you to just share all about that, because that was really neat what you were doing before.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I was in a completely different space work-wise prior to becoming interested in nutrition and dietetics. I was a mother of 5 children, and I worked from home as I was very, very blessed in my prior career as a top sales director with Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Yep.
And yes, I did drive the pink Cadillacs. I have 3 of them. And
3? Oh, I didn't know that. I knew you had 1.
Yeah, 3. Yeah, I ended up having 3. But that career was amazing. But I was self-employed, and I absolutely loved it. And life kind of threw me a curveball, and I found myself unmarried. I found my marriage had fallen apart, and I found myself single with this career in Mary Kay, self-employed. The kind of the part that I haven't added in here yet is I have had type 1 diabetes since I was 10 years old. And being self-employed with type 1 diabetes, it is not easy to get health insurance that you can actually afford. And I needed health insurance. So not only for me, but for my children. So that was kind of where one door closed, another one opened. Oops, I apologize. That's my continuous monitor.
No, it happens.
So anyway, let me turn that down. So anyway, long story short, I ended up, the window opened for me to go back to school. And I, for years, had this dream of being a diabetes educator. So for me, it was, how do I become a diabetes educator? Because I had been super blessed growing up, being healthy, being able to travel all over the world and do all kinds of sports. And, I didn't feel like I was handicapped in any way with diabetes. I had such a healthy living experience with it. And I wanted to help other people be able to have that same attitude and learn that they could do all the same things that other people do. And they could do it even better if they choose. It's really up to them and how they want to take control of their health. So when this opportunity came along for me to go back to school, I honestly thought I would go back to school to become a nurse. I never thought I would become a dietitian. And the reason why is because when I grew up, Gigi, I had such a difficult time with my dietitian because I thought I had to eat, boiled chicken and broccoli, for every meal. And what I learned through the dietitians were, no, you don't have to do that. But food was really a challenge for me as a young child growing up, because food affected everything I did, when it came to my diabetes.
Right.
So I went back to school to get some kind of health sciences career started. And during that process, I realized that dietetics and nutrition was the way for me to go. And the reason I figured that out, it was a couple of things. But one of my friends had started in the dietetics and nutrition program, and she said, Kim, it's amazing. And I had taken a health and nutrition class at my college, and I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And the other thing was, I didn't like to deal with bodily fluids, blood and all of that stuff. And I'm like, oh, I can't do that. So I thought, well, maybe nursing's not the way to go. Let me try nutrition and dietetics. So becoming a registered dietitian was really a means to an end for me, which sounds kind of funny, but that's really what it was when I first started out. Then I got accepted at Loma Linda, where I had the pleasure of meeting you and being taught by you.
Yay.
And many of the other amazing professors. And that's where I really started falling in love with food and the nutrition side of it and learning. I'm like, I had no idea about our gut health and how the macro and micronutrients affected us and everything that was involved with nutrition and dietetics. I mean, there's just this massive umbrella of things that you can do as a registered dietitian that I had no idea, because all I knew was what I experienced as a child.
Right.
So with my registered dietitian, so that's kind of how that started, you know, getting into nutrition and dietetics. And I think what I found with it is God knew that that was a better fit for me all the way around. And he knew, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I have to say that I do miss having you in class, because I loved how you would always add to the discussion or, you know, the lecture for that day when we would study diabetes, and you would say, can I please add a life experience to that? And I always loved it and looked for your hand to go up to make it more realistic instead of just what I have practiced as a dietitian or what I know from the textbook. So adding a real life experience, you always made it so valuable. So I miss having you. I still do.
Thank you. Thank you. I remember one of the assignments that you gave us was to do a collage of how insulin and carbohydrates, how they work together, you know, and I remember thinking, how does insulin work with glucose in the body? Yeah. And I remember going, that's how it works? I never knew that. I learned so much, you know.
Oh.
I know the real life, the actual science behind it. So that was really neat. Yeah.
Oh, neat. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that is one of the activities that I still keep. You know, as teachers always tweak it every year, but I'm like, I think that one is a keeper. Yeah, so thank you for affirming that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. So then, Kim, you graduated from Loma Linda. You took your RD exam.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And then please walk us through all that.
Okay. Okay. So I knew my last semester, I was on a very, very tight time frame. I knew that I had to graduate and I had to start working within that following month, or I was going to have an issue with being able to pay my living expenses for my children, like my rent at the time and utilities. I mean, it was such a great pressure. And I had such awesome support from all of you at the school. I'm like, okay, I know I can do this. Thank you, God. I know we've got this, you know. I was blessed that that the chair of our department, Mrs. Cush, rushed my papers through. So I took it 3 weeks after graduation. And I took and passed the exam on August 3rd, 2016, and immediately contacted the head of adult clinical, like the diabetes specialist at the Loma Linda University Med Center, and Margie Carson. And I was so blessed and just like celebrating that I could work and go from being a student and, you know, now to being able to work. And so I actually started as a diabetes specialist 1 at Loma Linda University Med Center. And I learned a wealth of knowledge. It's not what I thought I wanted to do.
Okay.
But God knew I needed to learn the clinical side and just mental nutrition therapy, you know, for people who have wounds and people who have cancer and people who have had heart attacks or people who have had amputations or a stroke or end-stage renal disease, all of those things. I knew I would need to, I knew I needed to learn all of those things after the fact. I didn't know it before. So, so anyway, I did, of course, I worked on multiple floors at the Med Center.
Yes.
And I am so thankful for that. I tried to get on as a full-time diabetes specialist 1, just thinking, you know what, this must be what I'm supposed to do. Maybe I'm not going into diabetes. You know, maybe this is not what God has for me. And remember, that was my focus this whole time.
Yes.
So I finally, when that door would not open for me to become full-time employed, right there with that awesome team.
Yeah.
It wasn't because I wasn't qualified. It was because of the number of people who were senior to me. And yeah. And Margie goes, Kim, you're next in line. Well, I had just gotten a phone call from Compass Group, and they said, Kim, we have a position for an assistant director of clinical and nutrition services to run the kitchen and the entire clinical nutrition at Moreno Valley, Kaiser Permanente. And I needed insurance, remember?
Yes.
Insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
I said, I have to do it, you know, even though it's not still diabetes,
right.
but it gave me another opportunity. And while I was working at Loma Linda per diem, I was also working at SNFs, skilled nursing facilities. I was working at 2 different skilled nursing facilities with RDN solutions.
Okay.
And I was, let's see, what was the other thing I was doing? Oh, and I did personal diabetes education. Like I had clients that would repeat friends that would reach out and say, hey, Kim, you know,
oh, wow.
I need some help, want to lose some weight, you know, and I'm exercising, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I remember this was trusting my nutrition education from Loma Linda. A friend of mine, beautiful person, she called me and she said, Kim, I am not losing weight and I'm only eating, you know, 1,300, 1,400 calories a day. I'm exercising, I'm burning 3,400 calories a day. And I said, you're not eating enough. I said, let me do some math. And I went through the calculations and I said, you're starving yourself. You need to eat more. And she said, well, this is what I'm eating. And I said, let's bump your calories up. We got her eating the right amount of calories and her weight started dropping.
Amazing. Look at that.
I was so nervous and she paid me cash. She paid me for it. Wow. But I'm like, okay, Lord, please let this education that I got from Loma Linda University, let it work, you know, and it worked. And she was so happy. So I was doing that on the side too. Yeah. So I started over at Kaiser Permanente via Compass Group, what was a contracted company. And I had 29 employees in the kitchen.
Wow.
And so there was a director who I worked with. His name is Jason, amazing man. He was overseeing kind of more the food and the cafe part. I was overseeing all the clinical. So I had to make sure that that all of the food was correct when it came to FDA regulations and that the menu was appropriate. And then I also acted as an RD a couple days a week. I had 2 RDs that were my employees, but I worked as an RD and would go into the emergency room and do TPN and you know, I do NPO and PO feedings, you know, so I oversaw all that too. But I got to train these employees. I had to, you know, oversee them and make sure that their hours were correct. I had to deal with the budget. I had to sign off on every you know, special food that was going out to make sure that those foods met the criteria for that patient regarding their MNT. So, you know, it was just regarding their needs for wound healing or whatever the case was. So great experience.
Yes,
and while
it really broadened your experience or your education. It was like getting more education working there too.
Oh, it was amazing. And I loved it there. I absolutely loved it. We had a front cafe and then we had the back kitchen. And it was one of those things I had to learn about cleaning and storage and all of the things that it takes to run a kitchen. So it was really incredible. It was an amazing experience.
Yes.
We did, I wrote some things down here. We all oversaw the not only the food services, but also, you know, the hospital staff and then the visitors as well. So it was a big deal. Yeah. Really fun. I loved it. But during that time, I got a phone call.
Oh.
Yes, I got a phone call from one of my former employees at Loma Linda University, adult clinical. And they said, Kim, there is a diabetes clinic in Yucaipa, which is my hometown where I live.
Oh my.
They are looking for a registered dietitian to teach diabetes education. And I said, no way. And I'm like, oh Lord, this is amazing. But it was very bittersweet because I did not want to leave where I was because I loved it. But I knew that this was kind of God's timing for me, that he had taught me, you know, allowed me to learn so many different things to bring me to where I was. And I have to say, Gigi, if I wasn't able and willing to do all of those different positions, I would not have brought as much to the table when it came to becoming a diabetes educator at this clinic. So
amazing how God made that work. He just put that path, different pieces together to maximize his ultimate place for you.
Yep. It was really amazing. And this is where I thought, I have arrived. I have arrived. I am now working in a clinic with my own office with another amazing registered dietitian, super smart woman. And I learned so much from her, and also the doctor who is an endocrinologist, and the nurse practitioner. And this endocrinologist leans more towards the functional medicine side.
Nice.
Yes. So instead of let's treat the problem, how about we look at the cause and treat the cause? Yes. Mm-hmm. So I had amazing opportunities, Gigi, with them. This is what I'm really excited to share with you. And that's not even where I'm at right now. I will tell you where I'm at now. But at this place, it was Beaver Medical in Yucaipa.
Okay.
And I worked with Dr. Ansel. And she, I got to teach, to coach, to guide patients so they would understand like a new diagnosis of diabetes and what that actually meant in their daily life, how it affects, you know, their personal life as well as affecting, you know, their family. So I got to do education with family as well. I got to evaluate the stages of change and are they even ready, you know? Yeah. So there were many times where I was just building relationships, which was beautiful. Well, all this time while I'm doing that and I'm starting up different, Dr. Ansel put me in charge. She said, Kim, go ahead and you and Marissa, the other dietitian, you guys, I need you to put together some education. I need education on this. I need education on that. I need this and this and this. And I said, no problem, we got it. So we got to put together different classes. And one of the classes that she wanted to focus on was extreme low carb or ketogenic lifestyle. And we started out with just a weekly little class of teaching low carb living.
Okay.
And how it grew within about a year to a year and a half, we ended up having every Tuesday afternoon, we would have anywhere from 60 to 80 people come to our clinic.
Wow.
And we had people who were on over 300 units of insulin a day who would get off insulin, get off all of their GLP-1s, and they would stay only on metformin or even get off metformin.
Wow.
And they lost weight like crazy.
Oh my goodness.
And felt so good. They didn't have the aches and the pains. Of course, we monitored that. It wasn't like we just said, oh, just this is what you do. Yeah. We, you know, it was a class that I actually taught. And it was very serious. You know, it's something that people who live with diabetes, you know, we don't just willy-nilly anything, or we could have major health risk outcomes, right?
Correct.
So we had such success with that and had so many patients who literally they were able to save thousands of dollars on medication and extend their life. You know, people who, it was an amazing experience just to learn about it.
Yeah.
So,
and how long were those classes? Like how many weeks did they have to?
It was a 4-week series. Okay, so
Okay.
it was every Tuesday afternoon,
Mhm.
and it was kind of a cycling teaching. The first Tuesday of the month, I would teach like the intro class
Got it.
and provide them with information and all of the warnings of if you're a type 1, you must be on day 1 of the diet, or if you're on any glucose lowering medications day 1 of the diet, you cannot do this without talking to me or
Yeah.
talking to
Okay.
Dr. Ansel. You must talk with us before you do that, because we would cut their insulin in half
Wow.
and stop their it was amazing, and stop their bolus insulin. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's a
Yeah.
tremendous program right there to be involved in
So
and to learn from.
it was amazing. Dr. Ansel's incredible. We also, one of the other things that I did there, I've given birth 5 times myself, but I got to work with women who have diabetes, whether it's gestational or pre-existing type 1 or type 2.
Okay.
I got to work with them weekly, and got to help them with looking at and reviewing their blood sugar charts, either their continuous glucose monitors like Dexcom or Libre,
Mm.
and got to look at those and say, okay, we need to maybe do some adjustments here or there. So that was amazing, because I would follow these women. I was hardcore. The person that was like, okay, where are your blood sugars? Let's go over these. We want to
Oh.
make sure that baby and you are healthy, and
Mhm.
so just building that relationship was amazing. We
Yes.
also got to do, through Stanford University, I got to be a part of a trial net, which is, I actually wrote this down because I did not want to misread this. Trial net. Where do I have my trial net? Basically what it was a program for testing. It's like testing autoimmune with people who are relatives of first line or second line relatives to type 1 diabetes. So all of my children, I got to bring them in and have them tested for antibodies to see if they were on the track for having type 1 diabetes.
Oh, okay.
So I got to be a part of that trial net experiment. I don't want to say experiment, study.
Yeah, it's a
It's
study.
really incredible, and it helps to prevent furthering the cause of diabetes. And hopefully that the goal for TrialNet is that in the future, there will be no more type 1 diabetes. So kind
Oh,
of preserving the islet cells and all of that. So anyway, it was really amazing. I don't know where I have my notes. They're in here somewhere, but
yeah,
I'm kind of
that's okay.
bouncing around here.
Understandable, but what an honor and a privilege, and to
It
have
was amazing.
that done. Very
Yeah.
good. Oh, wow.
Yes, I learned a ton. And while I was there, I became a certified pump trainer. I had trained on all of the pumps, but I became a certified pump trainer for Tandem, which is a fabulous pump
Oh,
company. It's a tubed pump company,
okay.
and learned how to do that. I became a field trainer with Dexcom, the continuous glucose monitor, where I go out and I help people get started on the Dexcom continuous glucose monitor. I learned, of course, Libre, but then I also learned Omnipod, which is the only tubeless insulin pump or automated insulin delivery. And that's the one that I use. I use Omnipod, and I was so blessed. I was offered a position with them that I could not turn away. They kind of handed me the world. And I said, you know what, I would love to do this. Because I'll tell you, while I was working in the clinic, as much as I loved it, there was a cap on it, on my income. And for me, being a single mom at the time, I'm not single anymore, but at the time, single mom, I was stuck in the office, and 8 to 5, that's where I was. I had some flexibility, but not as much as I was used to when I was working for myself as my own boss. So I was really looking to be able to work more from home or be able to travel a little bit more. And Insulet Corporation, makers of Omnipod, they gave me everything that I was looking for. So now, for a year now, I have been a clinical services manager with Insulet Corporation. and
Amazing.
learned a ton from this company too, just the technology and where we're going, as far as diabetes care with automated insulin delivery. So I
Oh,
have been very blessed. Now I actually help to certify other people to become certified pump trainers.
oh,
And I get to, it's kind of a 50-50, half sales and half clinical. So that's a great fit for me with
perfect.
my sales background.
Yes.
And I get to go see clinics and work with doctors and other educators, registered nurses, registered dietitians, nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, and get to work with them to kind of come together in like an interdisciplinary team to
Beautiful.
help people with diabetes have a simpler life
Yeah.
and be able to control their blood sugars. So my goal is always to help someone not only simplify their life with diabetes, but to lower their A1C and increase their time in range, so that they're within that normal range longer, and to help them understand how to troubleshoot high blood sugars and to avoid low blood sugars, hypoglycemia. So those are all the things that I get to do now.
Oh,
Absolutely love it. I can't even imagine doing something different.
wow. I am blown away because it is so fitting for you with a combination, not just the direct patient care, but because of your strength, the skills that you have in
Thank you.
sales and in the area that is related to diabetes, because this is your
Yeah.
life.
Yes. Yeah. And I believe that makes a difference. You know, there are some people who live with type 1 diabetes for a long time, you know, get tired. Well, we all get tired of it, but it is a daily thing that we have to handle or deal with, or we can end up having some very difficult health outcomes.
Right.
And so anything that we can do to just show understanding, and I always let people know when I'm talking to them, I will never judge you. And if I can give any of my sister RDs any advice,
Mhm.
never judge any patient with any kind of chronic condition,
Amen.
because until you've been in those shoes, you can't relate. We
No,
can try as a professional,
true.
but we can't relate. And the in my opinion, the
Mhm.
worst thing I could do is judge another person who lives with diabetes and say, well, you should do this or you shouldn't do that. And that was the other thing that I really loved about training at Loma Linda. Was it was very much a love, training, an acceptance, but it was also, how can we help you?
Yeah.
Where are you at? How can we help you improve? And on the clinical, side. And I love that. I love that because for me,
Mhm.
having and living with type 1 diabetes, that's a big deal. If
It
somebody
is.
came to me and said, you need to do this and you need to do that, I'd be like, yeah, peace out. I'm done.
Right.
I'm not listening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So true. You
Yeah.
nailed it right there. And
Yeah.
I just really love that message that you are sharing to other RDs out there. Yes, we
Yes.
could learn about the different medical conditions that are out
Sure.
there.
Yep.
We could emphasize to the, nth degree, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we will never really be able to fully understand if we really haven't
Yeah.
walked in
Yeah.
those shoes. So thank you
And
for. Mhm.
you're welcome. What I've found, and this is so interesting to me, Gigi,
Yes.
the registered dietitians are wicked smart people. We are so smart,
I love it.
really.
I love it.
Such smart, intelligent human beings, detail oriented,
Oh, yes.
but have, and we like to control things,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's what we bring to the table. And
Mhm.
I have noticed that about diabetes, I have learned so much from other RDs who don't even have diabetes,
Oh,
the
wow.
ones that learned it from a textbook perspective. And
Mm.
I'm like, I wonder why that X, Y, or Z. And they're like, well, what about this? And then they'll share, what they learned. And I'm like, oh, hello, that makes perfect sense. I live it, but it didn't click with me.
Yeah. Yes.
So I love that there are so many very intelligent registered dietitians who know the clinical, you know, and the everything that goes on inside the body. So it's amazing to get to work with that many incredible people. Yeah.
Yeah. And that those dietitians, us dietitians who have either been fully in clinical, we just, and everybody else, there's so much compassion and love. I mean, that's why we got into the profession, is because
absolutely
we want people to live well, even if they have a condition. It doesn't label them at all. We don't want anybody to be labeled.
Of course. Of course. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. But helping them live that vivacious, healthy life, like how you have set the example that you have set in your life. You have always been successful. Your story is just so inspiring and encouraging.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel very fortunate and very blessed, for sure. Couldn't have done it without a lot of help and without, you know, God's guidance. That is for sure. No doubt about that.
Praise God. Yep. So then, Kim, I'm going to transition into, so what are your favorite nutrition practices for you to live well? Okay.
You know, I thought about that. It didn't take me very long to come up with what is it that I do so that I can be healthy. Yeah. I do eat a low carb diet, but that's right for me. I don't do keto. That is not right for me. Low carb is. So I've done keto and it worked great, but I feel better having a few more carbs. So I tried to do less than 100 grams of carbs in a day.
I was going to ask how many, 30, and you answered.
No more than 30 at a time, just because I can see that my blood sugars are controlled so much better when I don't have more than 40, 45 grams at one time. My insulin can handle it.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, and so that's tailor-made to you, for you, and you know that works for you.
Yeah. And it does help my patients who are on like a big roller coaster with their blood sugars. You know, I always say to them, you know, if you want to get off, you know, my goal for you is to help you get off the big boy roller coaster and get on the kiddie roller coaster. Everybody, whether you have diabetes or not, you know, we're all on a roller coaster with blood sugar.
Correct.
And so the goal is to get on this one, you know, and be able to handle it. And the best way to do that is to lower carbs, not an extreme, but just lower carbs at any given time. And make them more whole foods, which is my second. I prefer whole food eating, much less processed. So if it's a real food, right on, you know, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
So for me, that's another big one. Fresh foods, locally farmed. I love that. You know, I love going to my local my local spots and doing that. And then the other thing, the other practice, I did not realize how my gut health makes such an impact. I've been learning more of that over the last few years. Yeah. And listening to you as well. So I really appreciate that. But gut health, so I do pre and probiotics, and that has made such a positive impact in my own gut health, which of course increases my immune response.
Oh my goodness. Well. So true. Yeah. And I'm going to just tag on to what you just said with the gut health. So yeah, I've been changing how I also teach diabetes, you know, type 1 and type 2 and cardiovascular disease, because that underlying common denominator is that gut health. So it's so nice to hear you addressing that.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, it's huge. You know, I think people don't realize, unless they've had any type of, you know, chronic issue in their life, health-wise, that their gut is such a huge part. I think it's like a 70% of our immune system, our immune response.
I've seen some say 70, some say 80. So I say 70 to 80. Yeah.
And if our gut is in good health, then we can have a much better outcome health-wise when it comes to fighting anything in our body, and making sure that we're able to process appropriately and all of those things, and just feel well. That's so important.
Oh, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it does, for sure. So I really appreciate your education on that and what you do on Instagram, because every time I see it, I'm like, yes, preach it, sister. Yeah.
Yay,
So,
thank you. And
yeah.
I also like that you mentioned low carb, but not the classic keto for that doesn't work for everybody. But, and that's what I think a lot of patients or clients will tell me who have diabetes. Oh, I am following keto. And then I think, oh, I think it's a modified version of that. In my mind, I am like, I think it's not the true classic, but they just cut back, which works for them. And so I just leave it and say, okay, if they want to call it that, and it works for them. But
yeah, keto is very extreme, and it can be done super healthy. It really can. It decreases inflammation for people like crazy. Their CRP, it will drop drastically within the first 6 months.
Wow.
So it's really incredible. The lab results that come when someone goes from a high carb. Anybody can have a better health outcomes, through that. However, the ones that we see such drastic, I mean, I don't remember what at one point we had with our group of patients, we had over 1,200 pounds in weight loss. And I believe that was after 1 year.
Amazing.
It was amazing for a small group. I mean, it was really incredible. And we were having physicians sending their patients to us, but we didn't charge for it. We were just doing this, to help, because, that's the goal,
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love that heart of gold right there.
Yeah.
Wanting to truly help as many people as you all possibly can as a group together. Beautiful. But wow, 1,200 pounds.
Yeah, and I think that was after 1 full year of the people that we had actually asked, So it was a matter of, we're trying to add and see what our outcomes, because we knew that we were not writing as many prescriptions for these patients. They were getting off. We had such successes with it, Gigi, that the director of Beaver Medical, he made us what do you call it? A board, like a, what do you call it? Like a good job board, people that actually had, and we would put their lab results, up there of how their A1Cs. Yeah.
That was very motivating. Incredible. That's motivating.
Yeah. People would come in and see that, like, oh, I want to do that, and it was just amazing. So that was really a huge blessing for me to be able to help people like that. I was just on the phone with a patient who I'm getting ready to start on Omnipod, and he said, "Oh yeah, you helped me with getting started on keto when you were at Beaver Medical." And he says, "I did so good with that," and so I was really blessed, just to hear that, because now I'm in a different place, but still able to.
Right, true. Oh, that's so neat.
Yeah,
very good. Yeah. I'm working with a client, one of my private clients, and he was one that mentioned the Omnipod to me. And he was just like talking how great it is. And I said, could you tell me more about that? What are you talking about? So that is so fantastic that there's another way.
It's so nice. The thing that I think is so great about it is we use a remote. It looks like a phone because it's a lockdown Android phone. And this is what I use to, I figure if this thing has to talk to me 80 times a day, it might as well say something nice. So I put in there, "Hello, gorgeous."
I love it. I love it.
But what's cool about it, it actually, it holds, says what my last blood sugar was, what my last bolus of insulin was. It tells how much insulin I have on board, what my background insulin is, my basal rates. The information about the actual pod that I'm wearing on my body.
Oh my
God. I can show it to you.
Yes, please. Yeah. Oh, okay. Fabulous. Yeah. Wow. So it doesn't hurt.
No, not at all. No, it's just it's a little device, couple inches wide, and it holds up to 200 units of insulin, and I change it every 3 days. So it's perfect. So I don't have to give myself 4 shots a day. Instead, I just change this out once every 3 days. So yeah, it's amazing. Goodness. Great for little kids, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds. Great for them. So they don't have to have as many injections. And they
Yeah.
get their insulin absorbed super well this way. So, yeah.
So you already have some patients who are that young
Oh, yeah.
already on it.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so
And
tremendous.
we have, in fact, I have a patient who's 87. I'm training next week. 87 years old. Yep. And he's been taking shots for decades. And he says, I'm ready to get started on something new. And he wants the technology. So, isn't that cool?
Can you imagine after all these years and finally something new and amazing?
Yeah. And he's super excited. He keeps calling me. I said, Nick, I'll be there, my friend.
Patience.
Yeah, he's so cute. I'm excited to see him.
It.
Yeah, sweet man.
Oh, Guy, my heart is just so touched. It's just oozing with joy and happiness in so many directions. Hearing how you are making such a difference in multiple lives since you left Loma Linda.
Thank you. I am blessed. I really am. I cannot imagine having gone a different route, than what I went. I know that this is the path that I was supposed to go, not only for what I'm doing, but for me personally, because I am so fulfilled. There's nothing I would change now. I feel like, I'm where I'm supposed to be. And I am excited about, the goals that I've set with my company and my boss. I love my boss and my territory manager and just the people that I get to work with. The company that I work with at Omnipod and Select Corporation, makers of Omnipod, we have gotten to travel together prior to COVID. We got to travel to Puerto Rico and back to Boston, and I went up to San Francisco, and I mean, just being able to learn, and our Dash, Omnipod Dash became got an award for product of the year. And that was in the U.S. Health Systems category. So that was amazing. And then
congratulations.
Also in May, we got top wearable medical device by MedTech Review. So it's just an award-winning device, and I get to
congratulations left and right.
Yeah.
I have a feeling your company will continue to get more awards because this is life-changing.
It really is, yeah, for all types. Yeah. Yeah.
So then, what advice would you give someone who is probably wanting to just figure out what they're going to do in life? If they came from another career and wanting to make changes?
I always go back to the Nike slogan, just do it. If you have a desire to do something, and you have prayed about this, if you're a believer, and you pray and God opens a door, don't hesitate, just jump through. Because where there's a desire, I know God's scripture says that when we delight ourselves in him, he gives us the desires of our heart. I know a lot of times we think, oh, well, he'll give us the desires of our heart. But it says before that, if we delight ourselves in him, he will give us the desires of our heart. He places them there. So if we're delighting ourselves in him and we have a desire in our heart, we know it's from him. So it's just a matter of taking a step forward and going that direction. So, I really feel like, what's that?
So inspirational. I'm loving it and encouraging.
Thank you. Well, I really feel like as registered dietitians, we have so many opportunities that many other positions in the allied health field may not have. And what I mean by that is, in the class that I graduated with, some of them are in sports nutrition. I have no desire to go into sports nutrition. I mean, I actually asked them, hey, what do I do about my son who's 13 and playing basketball like a madman? I asked them, because not that I couldn't do it, but that's not my specialty, right? And, there are so many avenues of what we can do. Some are blogging, some are writing books, some are freelancing, others are working in hospitals, some are doing, tube feeding, like full blown, like if I miscalculate, this person could die. I mean, it's kind of amazing how we have so many different avenues as a registered dietitian. So we will never get bored. if we are willing to, you know, try something new. We will, you should never get bored, because there's always an opportunity to learn and to grow. And I mean, look at all the different things I've been blessed to do in 4.5 years. 4.5 years, that's it.
Wow.
I know.
Yes, I know. Could you imagine? Oh, it just blows me away. All that you've done, all the different areas.
Yeah, me too. It blows me away. I feel so blessed. So, and learned so much from so many smart people. So
I
feel
love it.
very fortunate.
You know, and the thing about you too, Kim, is that you're so humble. You know, even if you already know so much from your own experiences, own personal experiences with diabetes, but you're still open to learning and continually learning for others. And that's what makes you so amazing. It's a
Thank
humble
you.
spirit.
You're sweet to say that. I definitely, I am not done. You know, being a leader means you're never done learning. You're constantly learning. Leaders do not stop learning.
Yes.
I think that's really important, you know, that, you know, we may think once we get to a certain place that we have arrived, but we've never arrived, because we are constantly changing and evolving, and we can always learn from somebody else. So
Absolutely. So true. Oh, Kim, I could just keep talking forever and forever to you. I love talking to you and hearing your story, where God has led you, all the different avenues. And then you're just so inspirational and encouraging. So, oh, I love it. Thank you so much.
I'm happy to be a part of this. Thank you for asking me. I really appreciate that.
So welcome. And
I'll show you my hubby.
Oh yes, please. Your handsome hubby.
My handsome hubby.
Now, is his name Kojo?
Kojo, yeah.
Kojo,
yep,
okay.
That's it.
He is so handsome, such a good
Thank you.
couple you two make.
Oh, he's a good guy. He is a great man. So I feel like life has come full circle from when I was at Loma Linda.
Oh, so beautiful. And tell us, how many children between you and Kojo?
We have a total of 10. I have 5 and he has 5. So we're like Brady Bunch on steroids. Yeah.
That is so awesome.
Yeah. We have 7 adult children and 3 littles. So yeah, I say littles. They're not all little, but you know, we have little ones at home. So.
Oh my, even God worked that out for you.
I know. Very blessed. Yeah. Yes. Life is good.
Yes. Kim, I am so proud of you in all that you have accomplished. And I know that God will continue to use you in a mighty way. He has even bigger things still on the horizon for you. And so continue to go forth with him leading and guiding, because you have
for sure
great things already. Thank you for being so willing to be a part of the Nutra Narratives podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Gigi. I so appreciate your time. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.